I'm a DJ boy, going to Dcentral, minting NFT, farming DeFi, being crypto poor but JPay rich.
We're seeing adoption from celebrities. We're seeing adoption from athletes. And so I am so excited to be able to introduce to the stage our athlete extraordinaire, NBA professional, Baron Davis and Jordan French for their fireside chat. Please welcome them to the stage with a round of applause.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Big round of applause for Bianca, our lovely MC. She'll never get enough praise for all that she does. One hell of an intro for us. Right, Baron?
Yes, we selling products. I feel like we're about to do like a motivational speech.
I feel this way. or it's a comic skit. Is it about that? We're still standing. We should take a seat.
Thank you.
As to be considerate. Let's grab these two, kind of like nice and center. Actually, let me move you right here. Best optics for that camera. I'm seeing him right down the middle. Acknowledgement. Big round of applause for Dcentral and the team out back. Michael, Justin, Esther, the phenoms that they are. Y'all better check out Miami later this year. I'll go. I was there last year. It's a great time. In December, for the uninitiated, Dcentral Miami. Speaking of what Bianca, I'm going to pick up on a word she mentioned. You heard it a lot. Metaverse. Haven't heard lobster much, but that's going to come up. About Metaverse, and we're going to unpack some of that for you. Let me open this up for the uninitiated on you, Baron. NBA star turned entrepreneur. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you for having me. This is cool. Happy to be here. Shout out to Dcentral Con, and I'm ready to get cracking.
And you teased some news to us on Twitter. We were all paying attention, and it was about some of the work that you're doing. What's even better, as I like to say, picture's worth 1,000 words. We've heard that one, but video is worth 10,000. So we got a short video reel. I'm gonna make sure they make eye contact with us so they can play it. That way we can talk about it during this talk. It's about some of the work that you're doing. Gents? Oh, good timing. Spacey right there.
Can I talk about it?
See if you, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to History of the Game. Former NBA player. My goal, and I think my life mission, was to create a storytelling museum to honor some of the best basketball players that ever played that didn't get nominated into the Hall of Fame. And so for me, I believe that, every person, every player has a story, blood, sweat, and tears in the journey. And so what I wanted to do was create a museum where the players can nominate players in, where the players can nominate coaches, coaches can nominate coaches, pioneers, brands, right? Startup companies, and then also NFTs. Because if we're talking about Web3 and we're talking about, this inclusive, cohesive system, we should be able to collaborate with other NFTs for the players, and build a menu that they can pick from. And, thinking about this museum, we had to have games, we had to have gamification. And so building out an arcade allows us to create these prizes, right? Physical, digital, whether it's an NFT or a physical jersey, you'll be able to play these games in order to win and collect your prizes. So the more points you get, the more prizes you get. And then looking upstairs, our gallery, just thinking about like, how do we serve the community? How do we offer space to the community? And so what you're looking at is collaborations with other NFTs that we can do a collab pack, or we can give them display wall to tell their story. And then Slick is our company, Sports Lifestyle and Culture, and it's the first live stream marketplace for creators. And so our goal was to basically build a streaming platform where you go into our environment, which is like a Grand Central Station, and you can be in a lounge, you can be, out at the basketball court, and then it gives the content and the talent on the other end an opportunity to have distribution to go direct to their audience. And then here's our Hennessy Lounge, which I was tweeting. We'll be launching that on draft day, June 23rd. You'll be able to get Hennessy Lounge access pass to be able to travel in the metaverse and see like what we're doing. We'll be doing our own, draft recap show in the metaverse. And so what you're looking at is, the lounge that we will be releasing for the draft and, a big draft party. And then this is George Gervin. We just honor legends. The goal was just honor legends. And, every legend gets his own locker room. Super fans get a locker in their locker room. And that gets you access to breakfast, interviews, Zooms, meet and greets at All-Star, playoff games, things like that. And so what we wanted to do, we wanted to bring the fans closer to the legends, closer to the game, closer to the pioneers, because if we're all sitting and sharing stories, everybody's going to have a different perspective, right, or a different story that adds into, probably that one game. And so what History of the Game is, for me, it was something that I wanted to build for my peers, something I wanted to build for the players I grew up watching, and something that I feel we should be leaving behind for the generations to come.
That's awesome. We can cut it there. Thanks so much for airing that, because like I said, 10,000 words in every video. Really well timed, by the way. It's almost like we practiced your speech timing, but probably order of priorities here for all the media out there, just like me, just teeing this up. I mentioned Baron's tweet about the big reveal. It's the Hennessy Lounge. So for all those out there writing, doing your video, that's a thing to cover, is a Hennessy Lounge that's coming.
It's called the Never Stop, Never Settle Society. And so that's the lounge, that's the vibe, the campaign that we'll be promoting and building out, that first activation in our museum.
Yeah, with the checkerboard floor, I mentioned earlier, it's getting some like sophisticate meets Tom Petty vibes. I like that a lot.
Yeah, the checker floor is based off of the legendary black architect Paul Williams, who designed Frank Sinatra's house in Palm Springs, a bunch of houses in Beverly Hills, the Beverly Hills Hotel. But he was probably one of the most sophisticated designers because you couldn't put him in a box. And so, a lot of this museum, right, and design in this museum is really, curated so there are stories to be told, right, and artwork and design can come into the museum to further enhance it.
Yeah, certainly, and no pun intended on the box to which you refer, this being the metaverse. And so some inquiring minds out there, want to know about what you're launching June 23rd, coming right up. My first thought is, though, looks like we can play, Baron, and this is a question, on that basketball court that people just watched a few minutes ago, right?
Yeah, we're building, and so our thought was, Web3 has to include, in real life experiences, virtual experiences, and then VR, gaming, all of that. And so Web3 should be the most inclusive, and it should be experiential. And so for us, every part of our museum, we want to be able to duplicate that in a physical form. And the way we look at the museum is really we want to database and archive all of the incredible assets and IP and license rights for players themselves. So then at some point, we will have, a much bigger library than the Hall of Fame.
And got to ask this one naturally, because I know all the Web3 nerds out there like me are thinking this. Can we get an anti-gravity suit and just play you out there? Because that's what we're going to need.
Yeah, I mean, we working on volumetric, building out volumetric studios, things like that. Just thinking about how can we continue to make the experience as realistic as possible, right? And so, I think it's more about just listening and learning in this space and not being too fast, right? And kind of just, I would say, build it environment by environment, right? Because as, Web3 is continuing to evolve and continuing to grow, no matter what's happening right now, there's so many incredible minds that are building cool stuff. We want to make sure that we're nimble enough to add partners. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, it makes sense. Look, we've had these conversations before, and we know from coverage we've done, it's almost limitless, right? It's only limited by your own imagination of what's possible in here. And so to ground this experience for people, because there's people out there, they want to go into this on the 23rd. What is the use case, right? Just to lay more foundation. The draft's coming up. People can enter the metaverse as like a lounge, for example.
It's basically we're doing our own draft party. We're doing our own draft show. And we're going to be in New York physically. And so for our fans, our people that are out, out in the public, and NBA fans, we figure that they should have the same opportunity that we're experiencing in New York. And so that was the whole point of just building out the lounge and having a draft party with Hennessy to honor the rookies and all the legends, but to also bring, this Web3 audience into this NBA or this basketball ecosystem, different, a little different than just like buying an NFT, right? It's like, okay, here's something that you can actually experience, right? And here are people there, and here's content there. And, even though for us, it's like the experience is we rather focus on the moments instead of like a one-off interchange where you can't really mobilize, a lot of times the NFTs because they have no utilities, especially in our sport and in basketball. And so what we wanted to do was make sure that every time we had a drop, that drop would ultimately lead to something that you would get, you can experience, you know what I mean? Because to me, that's what I would want to experience, in Web3 and NFTs. And even as a fan of the game, it's like I want to go to one place where I can absorb all of the content around basketball as I possibly want.
Yeah, definitely. And to unpack that further, right, and lay even more foundation, the paradigm that a lot of us are in Web3 is, just to repeat it back to you, we've either bought or sold NFTs, and there's not a lot of utility yet. We all are thinking, well, what do you do next? Let's drop them into games. Let's do other things that a lot of people have bought sports memorabilia NFTs, for example, from one of great company out there. Lindine is running OpenSea. It sounds like you're taking the game and turning it on its head and starting with the experience first.
Yeah, it's like this is an opportunity for like culture. 3 years ago, everybody was talking about the artists and how they want to empower the artists. Today, they're not talking about that anymore. You know what I mean? Corporate is coming in, they're moving in. It's more about the tech is starting to become, a bigger, broader ecosystem. But the artists, right, was the ones we were supposed to be protecting. The legacy people were the ones, for us, we wanted to be protecting. So if we stick to that, right, just protecting assets, protecting IP, right, and then engaging, right, because, let's, for example, like George Gervin, right, San Antonio legend, NBA Hall of Famer, one of the best basketball posters of all time. And I want one, you know what I mean? And people, there's a lot of people who want that. And so why just give them a poster and an autograph when you can give them the poster, the autograph? And George Gervin would love to know who his super fans are, because he would want to share all of this knowledge and these stories that he's had that has been locked up because there's only a certain amount of slots on TV. There's only a certain amount of slots for commercials. and then there's only a certain amount of idle time that the NBA has when you're watching NBA games to produce and show who they are. So as the game evolves, 75 years in the league, we have to do a better job of making sure that we capture more and more and more and more stories of these guys because they're living legends.
Right, and to repeat this back to you, it's all about the relationship, and these are tools, really, that you're building for these creators, these artists, players, in a case, who are in many form an artist in and of themselves, especially their own IP, that's for sure, to relate to more of their fans, to build a relationship with more of their fans. Did I get that right?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely, because, just picking on the athlete, it's like the athlete is a hyphenate. The athlete has a best friend who's an incredible artist, painters, things like that. So if you start to pinpoint on the athlete, then the artist gets taken care of, the producer gets taken care of, whoever's animating it. And so to me, that's like the Web3 ecosystem is you 5 people get together to support George Gerving, take him, induct him into the metaverse, and then let him menu out, the NFTs that he wants to be a part of. And so that will drive value for him. It drives value for the artist. It drives value for the people who are helping him operate it.
Sounds like hell of a tailgate's coming up in the lounge on the 23rd. Backstage, we talked a little bit about the other relationship, which can be to other brands, including one, for example, at like Dcentral, which we're at. It's ripe for a metaverse play. Can you give us a little bit of a preview? Maybe it's not right now, but a way that you could work with others like a Dcentral in the future to tie them in to your own metaverse.
Yeah, if you look at our world is pretty, it's pretty barren. Just kidding. And so I would say somewhere like a place like Dcentral.
I admit I did not see that coming. I did not actually see that one coming. Usually I'm the one hitting you with the puns. I got a lobster roll coming for you.
But, thinking about DCentralCon and thinking about all the people here, it's like every time I go to conferences, it's like, either you're overwhelmed, you're underwhelmed, you're overinformed, you're underinformed, you're overconnecting, you're underconnecting. And it's like, we don't want to just be people showing up at events, passing through in traffic. And I think for us, it's like, how do we create, a space, right, in an environment where people can always tap in, right? Because it's one thing to get somebody card or be texting and following up, but it's another thing to know that, hey, I can go to DCentralCon, right? I can go tap in one of these offices or a workshop. It's like, why aren't we taking these panels and then extending them into workshops or building out town halls, right? Where we can all kind of congregate, learn from each other, work together. And for the people who couldn't be here, right? The people who are not physically here, I think, building out an environment, right? It would give them the opportunity to, one, if you can't afford it, earn your way here, I want to give a shout out to my driver because he just picked me up today and I dragged him in here. He cut me a deal for Uber. He cut me an Uber deal.
What's his name?
Anthony.
Anthony. Big round of applause for Anthony.
Shout out to Anthony.
The driver, front row. We got a packed house here, Baron. And I'm going to mark it Dcentral on top of it. So Anthony, so glad you could be here. So glad to see him in the front row. Super fan, ready for the metaverse, ready for the lounge. And I'll mark it Dcentral on this note because you brought it up on the count. There's, from numbers Justin supplied, over 10,000 were on one of the live streams.
Wow.
So no joke on the count. I don't know the numbers here, but to your point.
Yeah, it's a great community. You all are building a great community here, and people are, they're vibrant. The Miami one was great. It got me juiced.
We got Anthony in the house.
We got Anthony, and to me, Anthony was about to leave because he was my Uber driver, and I was like, no, come in, dude. You want to be a part of this? And so for me, it's like I always want to try and pull one or two people or invite them, into a space where, people are engaging, people want to help, people, like this space and this community and what we're growing, we should pay close attention to it because we're really doing something positive. Outside of all the BS and, the people who are in it for the wrong reasons, but, people are here for a reason, to connect, to learn, to build things together and collaborate. And that's what Web3 is about.
Yeah, certainly. And we're down on our minute, but we'd be remiss, Baron, to not unpack this word that we keep using. There's probably some inquiring minds out there, curiosities about this word, the lobster. Why are these two talking about lobsters? Well, just as a segue and foundation, we found each other out in the food court. And the food's pretty good here. Just to start.
The food is great. This is the best conference with the best food. Usually the food's nasty at conferences.
Yeah, that's for damn right. At Grit Daily House, and it's my turn. Mark Merle's here from Get Maine Lobster. We got lobster rolls. I know some of y'all are salivating for that. So stop by Grit Daily House. We'll be there. You should swing by. Anthony, you're more than welcome. We'll get you a front row seat there as well. I'm Jordan French, executive editor at Grit Daily News, based up in New York, and BlockTelegraph as well. Big round of applause one more time for the Baron Davis.
You can follow us Twitter. It's more than us. I think it's morethanus.io. More Than Us NFTs on Instagram. That's our collective. And so, just like History of the Game, it took a village. We have a bunch of really incredible designers, builders who are building their own projects. And so check us out on More Than Us, and we'll be happy to engage, collaborate, because that's where we're here.
Awesome. Draft date, June 23rd. History of the Game. One more big round of applause. Baron Davis, ladies and gentlemen. And Bianca, come back out here. Take it away. Thank you.